Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Ring Fanatics Podcast. But this week is a very special episode as we have 5-time Ring of Honor Tag Champ, 2-time Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship Tournament Champion, 1-time PWG World Tag Team Champ, the Prince and Zombie himself, Jimmy Jacobs.
The Zombie Princess, but that's all right. Well,
My bad. Sorry about that. My bad. It's a little nerve-wracking doing my first interview with you. As I said, this is the first interview in person. So, yeah, sorry about that. But, yeah, let's just jump right into it. So, growing up for you, you grew up in Michigan, right?
I did grow up in Michigan.
How was that?
Yeah. I don't know if I've grown up yet.
No?
I'm still working on it. I'm 37. I was like, I think I'm starting to grow up. I think I have it figured out a little bit. Yeah. I grew up. I had a great upbringing.
Nothing out the ordinary.
No, man. I have one brother. Parents that are still together. I grew up in East Grand Rapids, Michigan, which was the slightly bougier suburb of Grand Rapids. And yeah, man, I had a nice upbringing.
That's awesome. So when did you find pro wrestling?
Well, I have one older brother, and he liked it, and so I liked what he liked. And my first memory of pro wrestling was at my grandma's house watching Mr. Perfect play a perfect game of pool. So that was probably in like 89 or 90 or something. Yeah.
Was there a certain moment that was just like, wow, this is something that I might be able to do? Did that come along young, or did it come along later in life?
it came along later in life.
Okay.
Look, by later in life, I'm talking about 14 years old. Because I started when I was 15.
Okay.
But when I first saw Mick Foley, probably, and poor Mick is, I'm sure a ton of wrestlers have pointed their finger at Mick Foley and gone, "You're the reason I'm in this business," and I'm one of those people, man. I thought he was great. When I saw his sit-down interviews with Jim Ross in 1997, and him jumping off the roof of his garage and talking about eating bugs to impress girls or whatever it was, I was like, "Oh, that's me. That's like me. That's how I am." And that's my guy.
You saw that personality, and you were like, "This is somebody that's kind of has the same features I have that I follow in life."
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, that's me."
Yeah.
I saw Mick Foley, and I saw myself in him, and he became my guy. And I still to this day, man, I freaking love Mick Foley. I remember I was working for WWE, and whenever it's maybe 2017, and Mick he was like the commissioner or general manager of Raw, and we're in Detroit, and he was doing a promo at the end of Raw where he had to fire one member of the Raw roster. And so Stephanie brings him in the ring, and, Mick says, "I know the one person I'm going to fire, Stephanie. It's you." But Mick cuts this promo so great, and I'm watching that at 32 years old going, man, Mick Foley's my guy. Even if he wasn't my guy at 14 years old, he'd be my guy now. There's something about the way he does his promos and his character that I just go, that's my kind of wrestling. People can like, The Rock or something. And The Rock's great. I won't take anything away from The Rock. Rock's not my guy. Rock will never be my guy. The guy that's just like, "Oh, I'm super entertaining," and blah, blah, blah. It's like, great. Nothing against The Rock. He's the most popular wrestler ever. He's not my guy. Mick Foley is my guy.
It's more of the underdog thing, more of the, I don't know how to put it, but like, it's just Mick Foley. It's just like how you saw your personality in him. And like you said, even at 14 and 32, it was still, he's captivating you.
It's the realism with Mick. It's like he digs down. I remember reading his book with the third one he did, Hardcore Diaries. I think that's the third one. And he talks about going into promo land, to come up with his promos. I'm like, hell yeah, man, me too. That's the space you go into when you've got a big match coming up and you're trying to craft this piece up in your head, right? And there's something about Mick and the way he works, and I would see it backstage doing backstage promos with him. He brings himself into it, and he's so good at bringing himself into it. And there's something about that I connect with, that everything else sort of fades away, and I go, that's real.
And you could tell that with like the promos that you did. Like I started following you later in the Ring of Honor later in your Ring of Honor career, but the promos that you would cut are just amazing. So it kind of shows like why you have that kind of outlook on Mick Foley.
I mean, to me, promos and the characters, and that's the stuff I was into when I got into the wrestling business. Right away, it was about the character I was going to be. The wrestling was fine. The wrestling was what it was, but it was always about the personality. It was always about, I watched some of these things back when I was like 15, 16 years old, and it's ridiculous. I was ridiculous. Before people, if they know my career, know it at about, 18, 19 years old when I started doing IW Mid-South and then Ring of Honor and things like that. But the first few years of my career on shitty Michigan and Illinois and Ohio and Indiana independents are absurd, man. I used to come out, my first character was Jumpin' Jimmy Jacobs, and I would come out in a freaking pogo stick and a top hat and like... And then I'd be that character in one place, and another character I'd be the big bully Jimmy Jacobs. But I'm 16 years old. I'm 135 pounds. I would go out there, flexing my muscles, and I would do the thing where I try to step over the top rope like I'm the freaking giant, like I'm 7 feet tall. And I'm 16 doing this, and I watch it and go, what a maniac, man! God bless that young Jimmy Jacobs character.
It just shows the creativity that you had in going out there and trying something people probably wouldn't try themselves. That's just like, let's see if it works.
Yes.
So just trying out things, not just sticking to one thing and saying, I'm going to make it work. It's like, let's see what works.
Yeah, I'm amazed by that. And this isn't to put myself over. There's a certain detachment from it. Just say, I look back at me 20 years ago and I go, wow, that kid had creative balls, right? That kid just went out through the curtain and just exploded out of the curtain and just what became this character and just let all this creativity come out in those moments. And I have so much love for that 16-year-old kid who didn't see limitations, didn't see himself as going, well, I'm 16, I can't. I'm 17, I can't. I'm 15, I can't. I'm 18, I can't. I'm 5'6", 5'7", I can't. I'm 140 pounds, I can't. It was just, he didn't care. And so he set out to do something, and then here I am. I'm reaping the benefits of what a 16-year-old kid who had a lot of balls. And sometimes I admire that. Sometimes I go, 16-year-old Jimmy Jacobs had more balls than Jimmy Jacobs at 37. Yeah.
Because it's one of those things that's like, where would you be if you didn't have those balls and take those chances?
Yes. And I don't know what it is. As we get older, maybe we become more prudent and, we get warped by life a little bit. I don't know if it's broken down by life. And I'm not broken down by any means, but we start to learn things. We start to learn our own mortality. We start to learn these limitations, and these limitations that are imposed on us sort of externally in life. And then all of a sudden you've taken them on, right? And then you go, well, I shouldn't do this. Well, I shouldn't do this. That's too much of a risk. I've got too much to lose. And maybe as a child, you don't have as much to lose. Maybe at 16, it was like, yeah, just go for it.
Yeah, you didn't have the mindset that anything was going to, like the repercussions, you weren't thinking about that.
Right. And what's there to lose? And now it's like, well, now I'm 37 and I've got a, nice job. I've got a career. I've got whatever else. I don't know. It's a testament to it's a testament to me 20 years ago. That's all. God bless him.
And it just shows that it got you to where you are now.
Yeah. I've got a lot of love for that kid out there.
So IWA Mid-South was your home promotion, even throughout the years with Ring of Honor and doing all the rest of the indies, right?
IWA Mid-South was one of the first companies I worked for that had any sort of national exposure, but this is back in 2002, 2003. Ian had to deal with Smart Mark Video, and Smart Mark Video had distribution back then. I mean, people watched those tapes, and they were VHS tapes back then. And Ian was the first national promotion and booker to sort of see something in, it was me and Alex Shelley that went down there in 02, 03. And so I'll always, Ian will always have a place in my heart for that. I don't know if I would call it my home promotion, but I'll always have a home there.
Okay, got it. So when I was first introduced to you, you probably get this a lot, Wrestling Society X. Do you still get asked about that till this day?
It's so funny, man. I've been doing this for, I started in 99. And so when somebody says, hey, I first saw you, when I have no idea what they're going to say. There's 22 years of things. Sometimes it's, Wrestling Society X. I get that sometimes. Oh, I've been watching you for forever. Back when you did the furry boots. Sometimes you'll get the pogo stick, Jimmy Jacobs. Sometimes I'll get, man, I've been keeping up with your career forever. Like back when you were writing for WWE. And I'm like, that was like, a couple years ago.
Just
right.
5 years.
But the Wrestling Society X is sort of a cult favorite, I think.
Okay, got it. Yeah, because that was the first place I saw you, and then the second place was, of course, WWE versus Eddie Guerrero. I was like, hey, that's the guy from Wrestling Society X. What's he doing here? And then that's when, I want to say around 2005, that's when I started really getting into the indie scene, just because, like, one of my cousins actually started indie wrestling. He was just doing New York, and then that's when I started watching, like going deep into watching TNA, starting to try and find other companies and try to find DVDs that I can. And then it wasn't until I want to say like 09 that I found Ring of Honor, and then it was like, this is Jimmy Jacobs. This is the same guy.
Yeah, those were fun years, man. When I look at like 05, I was like 21, and I was just starting to turn a corner in my in-ring work and just becoming more of a man, growing into like an adult body as big as this body can get. And I was like running on all cylinders. I was like the IW Mid-South champion. So I was doing like a deal there. I was the Ring of Honor tag team champion. Then I do the match with Eddie Guerrero. And then like I started to run on more cylinders. I don't know.
More momentum.
Yeah, the next year when I started doing the Ballad of Lacey character in Ring of Honor, and that's when Wrestling Society X came up, and I went into like TNA brought me down to Orlando to do a tryout in like maybe August or something of 06. At 22, I felt like the world was mine. I was like, oh yeah, 22, this is happening now, this trajectory. By the time I'm 26, 27, I should be a WWE star and should be making a lot of money, which never transpired. But that was a good time. Being 21, 22 was great.
No, yeah, that's awesome, and that you had so much opportunity at that age just to go out there and showcase yourself.
Yeah.
Now, in Ring of Honor, did you have, like, going through all the storylines that you had, since there was so many, it's hard to just pick one, but did you have a lot of creative control, work with creative in Ring of Honor to do what you were doing? Or was
Gabe Sapolsky was the booker when I first got there, and once Gabe got me, and it took him a second for him to get me, like, he didn't get the furry boots. And, or maybe he did and didn't care, and that's fair enough, too. Yeah. It was I don't want to say it was a one-dimensional gimmick. Look, it got great reactions. I would come out, go, Huss, Huss. People go, Huss, Huss, whole crowd. Yeah, that's great. But then it's like, well, now what?
Yeah.
And so Gabe didn't really... he was trying with me, and I was a tag team champion with BJ, and he really wasn't that behind us. It wasn't until I did the Ballad of Lacey, I made the music video, I wrote the song with my buddy Vince, and made the music video with my buddy Mike, and he saw it. He was like, I get it now. I get it. I get that you get it. I get what you are. Great. And once that happened, we were in a really great. We started being a very, very good creative co-collaboration cycle with me and him, and then once we started the Age of the Fall deal in 2007 with Tyler Black, Seth Rollins, whatever, came in, and he started getting involved in sort of the collaborative process as well. So it was always. At that time in Ring of Honor, we had nobody to answer to. It's like a really amazing time when I look back at it. Kerry Silken owned the company, and that was it. There was no we didn't have sponsors. We didn't have TV people to, we're not selling the TV rights with the international distribution where we need, XWB stars because that's only, wrestlers they know in India. Or, you know what I mean? At every other time in place, you start to go, oh, we have all these masters to serve. It isn't just about let's be careless and creative and try to make magic at all costs. But that was Ring of Honor 05, 06, 07, 08.
Okay, got you. Was there like a certain time period that you would say is your favorite? Not putting you on the spot to be like, oh, this is my favorite people to work with or anything, but was there a certain period that you like?
It's hard to say, man, because there were different places and times and indie companies where I was doing so much different stuff at all these different places, man. These places that nobody would ever know about or think about. I'm wrestling. I'm doing a story with Dan Severin in like 2006, 2007 at his company in Michigan, where I steal his UFC title and stuff. Like I'm doing a storyline there with that sort of madness. And one of my favorite storylines was at a bar in Detroit at XICW with a guy named DBA, and we ran a story for a year. And he's got his his getting in the ring with his 7-year-old kid and just madness. Yeah. But I've done madness sort of everywhere I've gone. Best I can do. The times with the Age of the Fall and the Battle of Lacey in 06, 07 into 08 were the most creatively free and had the biggest stage, right? So you had those two things at the same time. And the stage is important because you need fans that are invested, right? You need fans that are going to remember the thing you did last week and follow you through the story arc. Otherwise, you're jerking yourself off.
If the people don't care,
right?
What's the point of it?
If they haven't kept up with it,
yeah.
You're jerking yourself off. And so many wrestlers, and look, we're all like this to an extent. We're telling stories for ourselves, and you hope the fans get on board. But that was a nice time where we had enough fans who kept up with what was going on. We could tell intricate stories. And I'm not saying it was my favorite, like I enjoyed myself because I was probably miserable at the time, but it was certainly a creative freedom on a big stage that will probably never be duplicated.
That's awesome, though, that they gave you that chance just to, and like you said, there wasn't really any person telling you, hey, you can't do that in Ring of Honor. It was just like, let's see, this might be the thing. And then, like, I wasn't following it at the time, but as I go back and watch that storyline play out with the Battle of Lacey and then just the whole Age of the Fallen when the debut, that whole controversy, it seems like you had everybody invested.
Yeah, we got to hang Jay Briscoe upside down. And I got to shower in his blood,
which
I don't
is
think
insane.
Yeah, I don't think. Look, you can do that on a lower level indie show or a real gratuitous sort of death match sort of thing, but to be able to do that on, Ring of Honor is the third biggest company at the time, and them to have the sort of faith and. Like I said, it was just a special time. It was a special time to have that sort of creative freedom because you're not going to get that anywhere.
Did anybody say anything after that debut?
Well, it was a little interesting because it got cut from the pay-per-view.
Yes.
Which I didn't understand. I didn't understand why. And I guess it was too gratuitous. At the time, I thought, no, this is just awesome. Now we look back and I go, oh my God, that was horrifying. we hung a man, we strung him upside down, and I showered in his blood. You can't do that on TV anymore. But at the time, I just thought, this is the coolest thing ever. Yeah. Why wouldn't we show this on pay-per-view?
No, definitely. Because every time I think of that, I always think of the classic ECW, the hanging of Sandman, like on the cross. Mm-hmm. So I always put those two like in the same boat. but just the hanging from upside down and cutting a promo and his blood is just it's something different.
Yeah, I think my angle had a little less blasphemy. I don't know whether that's good or bad, but yeah, man, it was different. We put a lot of thought into what that debut was going to look like, and it paid off. I mean, I hate the promo. It's one of these things. Well, I look back at it now. The whole thing wasn't what I thought it was in my head at that time. I thought, this is my time to, we had done this Project 161, which was like a viral marketing campaign leading up to this, right? And so in my head, this is the time where I need to explain to everybody what's, who we are and all this sort of stuff. I look back and I go, I didn't need to say anything. The words didn't matter. Yeah. You hang the guy upside down. I'm in white. He bleeds all over me. If I could redo it, we do the same thing. I would stand underneath him for an uncomfortably long time, and then I would just say, Project 161 is over. The age of the fall has just begun. And that's it. That's it. That's all you need. I cut a freaking 5-minute long promo. Like, nobody wanted to hear it. It didn't matter what I said.
But now that you look back at it, are you very critique? Like, when you cut promos, do you go back and watch them and be like, oh, I should have said this instead of that? Sometimes,
but you could always improve things. But even at that time, I remember right after it was over, I was like, I hate this. This was a fumble. This was a fail on my part. Now, people bring this up as a
great moment,
right, in Ring of Honor, in Ring of Honor history. But for me, it had nothing to do with me. It had nothing to do with what I said. I screwed up. I should have but I didn't know. Like I said, I thought it was something else at that time. I thought the point of that segment was one thing, and I look back at it and go, oh no, that's not the point of that segment. But we all have blind spots, and it's all learning as you go. It's learning, and wrestlers in particular, I find, have large blind spots, and that's part of my job now as somebody in creative. For the last whatever, it's been almost 7 years since I started working for WWE and then Impact Wrestling. Is you got to protect wrestlers for themselves sometimes. When you're on TV and wrestlers all, like I said, I have blind spots. I had a huge one there, and I wish there was somebody back then that would have been like, hey, Jimmy, I know you think this moment's about you sitting there and talking and explaining everything, but it's not. It's about the visual. It's about the debut. They see the characters. They remember the visual. What you say won't matter one bit. Save it. Save it for another time. I wish I had somebody there to tell me that.
Yeah. So it's good that you're there now to help wrestlers with that.
Sometimes.
So we'll get into
Who knows? Who knows, right?
That is true.
Who knows? You hope as a writer, as somebody in creative, a booker, whatever, that you are helping the wrestlers, right? You hope you are a resource and you're helping them along. Are there times where I've worked with a talent and then just gone, oh, all I did in that was just hold them back. That's all I did. I wasn't a benefit at all. Well, I'm just telling them, no, you can't, no, you can't, no, you can't, no, you shouldn't, no, you shouldn't. And that was more in WWE, because you work with the talent and you put on your Vince hat basically, and you go, well, Vince wouldn't want you to do that, so you can't do that. Well, you can't do that. And you just become this character that you just poo-poos everything. And I remember times just being there and going, what am I doing? Like, I'm just bringing the creative process down. And it's my job to bring the creative process down. And that's how WWE's set up. It's
more thinking like, what would Vince want?
Of course. That's what your job is. Your job is to hopefully anticipate what Vince wants and give something that they say it's an audience of one. Yes, it's an audience of one. But there are certain other times where then you just go, well, who cares? Let's play in the box as much as we can. But also, if we go outside the box today, fine. Let's do that today. And if Vince, yells, and if he gets mad, fine. Sometimes you do,
Yeah, like you just gotta take it. It's just
look, you don't intentionally go against what he said. That's never a good move. If Vince says the sky's green, you go and say, great, the sky's green. That's a quote from Vince. If I say the sky's green, the sky's green. But you do, because it's his show. It's his sandbox. He's letting you play in it. Yeah. Now, if he doesn't explicitly say do X, Y, Z or don't do X, Y, Z, can you then go, all right, I'm not sure he's going to like this. He may or may not. Let's go. I mean, working with Jericho and Kevin Owens, that was us sometimes. And Chris has more leeway there, right?
Since he's been around so long.
Yeah, but it's still Vince's show. But yeah, we did that, and sometimes we got caught. I remember times where, sometimes you do it and they're doing the promo and it's great and who cares and it's so awesome that it's fine. Yeah. It doesn't matter what is said, more or less. It's fine. I remember another time they're out there and Vince is like, why aren't they saying what's on the paper? Well, sir, this is a talent ad lib. God, what gosh. And they just keep ad libbing. And I knew they were going to add this other stuff. And then, they got called over to Vince, and Vince asked her, guys. Vince hits this great line. He tells them, guys, if you're going to ad lib, you have to let me know. It's like, that's the opposite of ad lib, sir.
Then what's the point?
Yeah. If you're gonna ad lib, right, let me know. Well,
So there's always been talk about how you were the go-to person for Jericho. Were you also go-to person for a lot of people in the back, or?
I worked with Chris and Kevin most closely and most intimately, creatively. I worked with a lot of guys, and look, this isn't trying to not. I was good at my job there, and guys liked working with me. Yeah. After I did the stuff with Roman Reigns and John Cena, Roman came up to me and said, hey man, I just want to work with you from now on. That was right before I got fired. I got fired maybe a couple weeks later, so I wasn't bad. I didn't get fired because I was bad at my job.
Yeah.
I was the last stories I was producing on SmackDown. It was Owens and Shane McMahon, and on Raw it was Roman and Cena.
Oh wow! So two heavy hitters.
Yeah. And so I was good at my job, and I think I had the trust of a lot of talent, which I had to earn. I mean, some of the guys I knew going in there.
They already knew your creative process.
Right. And you look guys like Kevin and Sami Zayn and whoever. But even somebody like Seth, it's you have to. This ain't Ring of Honor anymore. Millions of dollars are on the line, and you can't just assume that creative in Ring of Honor Jimmy Jacobs is going to be best for you here in WWE. And so I had to earn that with everybody there. Jericho especially. Jericho knew of me. We had mutual friends or whatever. But Jericho's he don't give a fuck who I am.
Yeah.
Jericho gives a fuck about being the absolute freaking best. That's what he cares about. And so until I've proven that my contributions are going to help him be the freaking best, he's got no time for me.
He could care less.
I mean, some of our the first times I worked with Chris, it was really difficult. It was really difficult. I remember one time
bashing of heads, just going back and forth, or
Chris wants to get it done, and he doesn't want to hear why we can't get it done. And a bit of what I was talking about earlier about how sometimes I could feel me hindering talent, because it's
Yes.
like, well, Vince this, and we shouldn't do this. I remember there was one promo, and I just kept going, oh, Chris, we only have this much time. Well, Chris, we only have this much time. Well, this is fine. We're just adding this, and we just only. And Chris like grabbed the paper and he crumpled up and he threw it at me. I don't know, threw it at me. I think he threw it at me. Threw it at me. It doesn't matter.
In the area.
But basically, he's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm Chris Jericho, and I'm gonna make the best promo I can make. That's what I care about. So it's like, do you want to be on team, we're going to do the best thing we can freaking do? Or do you want to be on team, here's why we can't do it? And I get that. I get that mentality. He doesn't care. You know, when we first started doing the List of Jericho, and it was first just like a clipboard, and then he wanted to say the List of Jericho on the back. This was before they made like the big metal one. Yeah. And like I couldn't come up, like, get the, whatever. I couldn't get it on the back of this clipboard. And then he takes the clipboard, takes a marker, and just writes, List of Jericho. And he goes, I never want to hear why you can't do something. I want to hear why you can get it done. I'm like, good. That's my guy. And that's true to life, right? That's true to life. For whatever you want to do in your life, there's a million reasons why you shouldn't or why you can't. There's a million reasons why you came from New York to be here and do this podcast and whatever else you're doing here. And there's a million reasons why you're not sitting here with me, because you go, well, it's on a Thursday and I've got other stuff planned, and I don't know exactly how much money I have for this flight, and I don't know Jimmy Jacobs, and so, I mean, what am I going to do? Just reach out to him on Instagram, and he's probably going to say no, and maybe I'll just do it some other way. I'll do it on Zoom or something. It's like there's a million reasons to say no. There's a million reasons right off the bat to not do anything you're thinking about doing. But those are excuses. Yeah. If you want to do something, you just go, we're going to get this done. I don't know if it's going to be great. I don't know if it's going to be the best thing ever, but we're going to freaking get it done, because that's what we do. When I want to do something, I'm going to make it happen. Yeah,
one way or another.
Right. And it's like, those are the people that Chris wants around him, because those are the people that any successful person will want around them.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I learned that from Chris.
That's a great lesson.
Yeah.
And that's a fact, because when I reached out to you, I was like, there's no shot this is going to happen, but why not? Let's try it out. So, like we talked about, you got fired from WWE because of the whole selfie thing. Why was that such a big deal?
It's hard for me to say exactly, because I don't know what
the mindset was.
Yeah. Hunter was really mad about it, because Hunter cares about those sort of things, right? Okay. He cares about the Young Bucks and the,
It's one of those things that's like, it's not in WWE. Why mention it?
Yeah. So Hunter was mad. Hunter was mad about it. And I talked to Hunter, and we had a pretty good conversation about it that day. And he said he wasn't going to throw me under the bus. And, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I have no idea how the firing actually happened. If I had to take a guess, and this is a guess. My guess is that my boss probably went up to Vince and said, "Hey, Vince, this happened. When the writers did this, I talked to him, and Hunter talked to him, and Road Dogg talked to him, and but I just want to make you aware of it." And Vince was probably like, "God, we can't have this happen," because this is, and there's again just a guess. It could have gone any number of ways, but this is my guess of how it happened. Vince always saw me as somebody trying to get myself over. He saw, even though I would, dress in a suit and tie, it's like, God, he's wearing a pink tie. Like I'm just. He joked that I was like the Nakamura of the writing team, right? Because I'm eccentric and whatever. Yeah. I don't think I'm that eccentric.
You're not in that. I don't even know how to call it, like stratosphere, like in that bubble. Yeah, you're outside. Like, look, you say, you think outside the box.
I walk around. I got a purse. Your personality. I have a purse. And what is that? A purse? It's like, yeah. Well, look. I don't know how people live without a small bag with them, right? It's like, you have your stuff in there, whatever. So there is, and I'm animated when I talk, and I use my hands. There's a bit of eccentricity around me that people could see. Again,
Okay.
I don't particularly see it, but I can see how people
It's
can
not
see
like
it.
you do it on purpose. It's just who you are.
Right. Insofar as that I'm anybody.
Yeah. And then when you're passionate, everybody when they're passionate uses their hands, uses their body language, so you see how passionate they are when they're talking.
Yeah, and I've always, all my fashion's been always a little something. I'm wearing like a freaking Jedi robe right now. And so Vince always saw me as a guy that was like trying to get himself over. That was just not as corporate, not as, step in line as everybody else. And my guess is that this to him was emblematic of that. Going, God, this kid's just trying to get himself over. We need to get him out of here.
Okay.
That's my guess. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, because at this time there was no talk about like a new promotion or nothing. It was still just Ring of Honor. They're in the Bullet Club, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I never understood why that was such a big thing. Before, so we'll go back a little bit, but this is talking about your career after WWE. When you got signed with WWE to be creative, were you done wrestling? Was your mindset like,
Yes.
I'm retired?
I'm done. Once it was in my head that that's what I was going to do, and this is like the late summer of 2014.
Okay.
Once that was in my head, I had the epiphany of going, "Oh, this is what I'm doing. I'm not wrestling anymore. I'm going to be a writer in WWE." I was done. Like I was.
Okay.
My time was running thin, and the last 2 months, 3 months, and once I started, I started with WWE on April 1st, so like starting in January, I was so done. I was like, I am so ready to never freaking wrestle again. Yeah.
Got it. Was it more like on the wrestling side? Like, was there a moment that was like, I don't need to do this anymore? Or was it more on the creative side? Like, ooh, this is like my calling. This is something that I can do. It was more of the creative.
Yeah. And why do I need to get beat up anymore?
Exactly.
At that point,
it's been so long, so many years.
I remember wrestling Tommaso Ciampa in the ECW arena in Philly. It's probably like January, February, March, something like that, for Ring of Honor, and it was pretty rough, and he was pretty rough in it. And after the match, I was just like, I
don't need this.
Right. Here's the truth. I'm gonna tell you a story. I don't think I've ever told a story in public. After the like he beat me up pretty good. It wasn't unsafe, but also I was in a space where I don't want to be hit, and I'm done. I was done mentally.
Okay.
And he goes afterwards. He's like, "You all right?" I'm like, "I'm good, man. Good. You all right? Good. I'm like, "Thank you." He's like, "Thank you. Yep. Good. Thank you." And I walk away, and I go to the bathroom upstairs at the ECW arena, and there's no lock on the door. And I go to Adam Page. I'm like, "Hey, can you just watch the door for a minute?" He goes, "Yeah, no problem." I close the door, and then I just like fall on my ass and just start crying, just like I just felt like I got violated, and I was done, man. I was done getting touched like that. I was done, and nothing against Tommaso. This isn't like Tommaso beat me up.
Yeah.
That's not
It
the
was
story.
just at the time that happened, you were just over
Right.
it.
That's not the story. The story is I'm over it.
Yeah,
I'm done. I am done being a pro wrestler so bad right now. That's the story.
Okay. Was there a time while you were a writer that you were like, I could still do this?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know exactly what it was.
What was it?
I had no intention of ever performing again.
Okay.
Until this one day, I was setting up this shot with Shane McMahon and Chris Jericho. They were going to do some sort of interaction backstage, and I was setting the shot up, and I wanted to see how it looked. So I stepped into the camera shot to sort of see how it looks, and then out of nowhere, Shane walks in, and we start doing the promo together. We just start like going through the promo, and he does his part, and I'm doing Jericho's part or whatever. And then I'm like, all right, let's see how it looks. And then I watch it back, and I see myself on the monitor. I see myself on the monitor with Shane McMahon and me doing Jericho's part and cutting this promo, and I just go, ah, shit, that looks good. No, I don't want to have that itch. I don't want to.
Yeah, you got like that bug.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done. It's like, no, I saw me. I'm like, Jimmy Jacobs, you look good there next to Shane McMahon. Look at you on camera and WWE lighting. Yeah, that suits you.
That's a good look.
That was it, man. That was it.
So, like, right when you got fired, that was your first thought, like, now I can finally wrestle again?
Before I got fired, it was
already on your mind.
The last 6 months that I was there, it was over for me. And I knew it was over. I mean, would I have made the call to leave? That's a question I struggle with. I might have stayed there and been miserable another 10 years, like so many other people in that company, because they're scared of what happens after WWE. Yeah. But I was done. I was spending my time in the production meetings, like looking at new wrestling gear. I was looking at like different careers, like the Marine, not the Marine Corps, the Peace Corps. Oh. I was, looking at like programs where you can live on a farm for free and in exchange for work on the farm. I mean, this is where my head was at when I took the picture with the Bullet Club, and that night, I've got a journal entry of, I was on the bus from Raw to SmackDown, and when I took the picture, I didn't know it was going to be a big deal.
Like it was going to blow up the way
I knew it was like it was probably going to make some people mad.
Yeah, like it would get like a little touchy. Like, why would that happen? And like a couple of blocks pick it up and be like, oh, this happened, but nothing like it happened.
I didn't think it was going to be like something I would get fired over, but that day. When it was like, oh, I might get fired over this, like my journal entry that night is like so excited. It's like, yeah, I might get fired over this. Like, imagine what else I can do with my life. I'm not going to, and it just shows you we keep ourselves in these traps. Getting fired from WWE was such a freaking gift, man. It was such a gift. It was a gift from whatever, the universe, whatever you think exists out there, that kicked me in the ass and went, look, it's fine. You can leave here, and it's fine. This one's on us. But next time, you make the decision, Chris. You make the decision. Next time you're trapped somewhere, you've trapped yourself somewhere, and you're paralyzed by fear and don't know, what's going to happen when this, oh my God, I can't make this decision. I couldn't possibly make this decision because, oh my God, look at all these things that could happen. Do it. It's fine. The universe gave me that lesson for free. It was like, look, here, you're scared to leave WWE? Here, you're out. Look, oh my God, look. Everything's fine. People still remember Jimmy Jacobs. You're fucking wrestling. You're having more fun than you've ever had in your whole freaking career.
It's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, buddy? Now go. Get out there and play.
That's awesome because I feel like that happens to a lot of people in life, that they're just scared they get that one job and that's like, this job is too good. Like, can I get a better one after this, even though I'm not happy?
Anything. It's not just jobs. It's relationships. It's whatever pattern that you are stuck in your life, and you're too scared to get out of it. You're too scared to make that decision and go, no, I'm going to love myself enough to leave this relationship because I deserve better. Or no, I'm going to, love myself enough. I'm in the middle of quitting vaping. I've been like vaping for 2 years like a freaking lunatic. And it's like, no, I love myself enough to stop this. I love myself enough to take care of myself. I love myself enough to start, giving my body the proper, nutrition and the good food it needs. I love myself enough to get out of this mental trap I'm keeping myself in. I love myself enough to forgive the person that did horrible things to me in my life. I love myself enough to let go of that, anger, to forgive them, to accept reality for how it happened. And we all get trapped in these things. We become prisoners of our own minds, prisoners of the fears, prisoners of projections of what might happen if, oh my gosh, what might happen? I'm just so used to the abuse in this relationship, I can't leave. Because I don't know. At least I know this is the devil I know. This isn't the devil I don't know. At least I know the patterns that my abuser has. At least I'm there with that. And we get trapped. And the whole point of this journey, maybe not the whole point, one of the main points of this journey is to unstick yourself, to realize that you've created these fears, you've created these limitations for yourself, you've created the mental bars that you're a prisoner of, and you're allowed to give yourself the key and unlock the door and step out into the great expanse and step out and be free from the prison you've put yourself in.
Wow, that is very true. Did you get this mindset right after you got fired? That's when you started thinking about it, or was it in your mind like, I'm not happy, I should just quit, but just waited it out?
I was unhappy there. I'm not sure if I ever would have quit. There's too much fear there.
And then it wasn't until after that you were just like, this is why I learned, and they gave me that one free chance to
yeah,
by
man.
myself. And now if I ever get in that situation again, I need to put it on myself to do that.
Yeah, make the decision. Make the decision for yourself. There's a part of me that regrets not just going to my boss and going, hey, man, I'm not happy. I'm done here.
Yeah.
Love you guys. Love what you did for me. Instead, I was a kind of a bit of a child and went and did something I knew I would get in trouble with, and was fired. Now, look, great way to get fired. Running an angle with the hottest act outside of WWE.
Yeah, why not?
That did me good. It gave me a fun little 15 minutes of notoriety. So, yeah.
So when you got back into wrestling, was the mindset like a company, or was it just like, I'm going to do what I know? I'm going to run the indies. I'm going to do shows here and there.
It was just to have fun, man.
Just to have fun. No, really, like
it was so much fun, especially for that first, few months where, like I said, there was like 15 minutes where it's like, oh, it's cool, Jimmy Jacobs is back, and then people are like, all right, Jimmy Jacobs is back, we get it. But for that 15 minutes, man, it was so much fun, and it's still fun, and because there's no pressure anymore. I'm not trying to get anywhere. My whole career is like, you got to get somewhere. You got to, even if it's on to the top of the card or to this company or to get hired by WWE, and then whatever it is, there's always somewhere to be. And for the first time in my career, it's like, there's nowhere to be. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. Here is fine.
Yeah.
Here is great. I'm enjoying this moment right now. It still is. It still is a great time.
And that's awesome that you're finally just chilling. You're like, I like this. This is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, and look, there has to be a balance, right? Because if you go, well, I'm fine where I'm at, well, then you're never gonna go anywhere,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
But it's the balance, I think, between appreciating where you're at with sort of enough of a mindset to move forward as well, right? There's a balance in between those two things, and for most of my career, it's just like I didn't enjoy it. Like we were talking about earlier about the Age of the Fall, and that time you go, well, what was your most favorite time? It's like I would say that hands down, but I was miserable during those times. I was miserable, and I look back and go, why didn't I just enjoy what the hell was going on? But that's us in every level.
Were you somebody that was just always looking for the next thing?
We're always. I think as humans, that's one of the traps we get caught in. And look, it's difficult because that same drive is what leads to, let's call it like, success, quote unquote, on some level, right?
Yeah.
The idea of always wanting more and always going towards the next thing is the thing that it propels you forward. But without a foundation of appreciation for where you're at, all you're going to do is spend your whole life wanting more. I have this, now I want more. I want more. I want more. I want more. You can do that forever. Yeah. You can do that literally forever until you stop and go, what am I trying to get? I'll get to the top of the mountain, it just gets just a little further, just a little further. At some point you go, how much further does this mountain go? Because you want to go to WWE, okay, you're there. You're on NXT, then you want to go on to Raw, okay, you're there. And now you want to be champion, okay, you're a champion. Now you want to main event WrestleMania, okay, you haven't been on WrestleMania. Now it's like, oh, now I want to be on Hollywood, okay. Now it's like it doesn't end, and that's fine because we're creatures that keep moving. But if you think what you want, the thing that is going to solve your problems, the thing that is going to complete you, satisfy you, whatever, is right around the corner, it will always be right around the corner. That's how it works. That's how psychologically that's how it works. The thing that quote unquote completes you or makes you happy can never be external, because there's always just one more thing. It's always it's a dog chasing its tail. You chase your freaking tail and you go, almost got it, almost got it, almost got it, until you stop and go, wait a minute, the tail's on me. It's my tail. I can grab it whenever I want to. I don't need to chase it. It's right here. If I think that the tail is the thing that's going to make me happy, it's on me. So what's the need to run around in circles for?
Oh shit, that's a great metaphor, to be honest. Wow. Yeah, that's very true. So I'm just happy you're happy doing your thing. Like, it's tough when, like you said, it was miserable for you, and it's probably a whole bunch of reasons why. It's just fucking life happens. You know what I mean? So like, there was probably just stuff that was on top of each other. You know what I mean?
Well, look,
or was it just
in all our lives? Nothing can make us feel something that isn't already there. So if you are looking for your happiness based on some sort of external factor, guess what? You're going to be a victim to reality. You're going to be a victim to your circumstance. If you expect your circumstances to be the thing that give you fulfillment or happiness, if your self-worth is contingent on people cheering for you in a wrestling match, it's like, guess what? Your self-worth is at the mercy of a bunch of strangers. And maybe you want to think about, is that where I want to put my self-worth? Do I want to put my self-worth and, a part of myself underneath the inside the Horcrux of, what Vince McMahon thinks about me? Vince, why did I put a part of myself in the idea of what Vince McMahon thinks about me? It's like, who freaking cares? I want it back. And now it's like, who cares, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, it's a very difficult life if you expect the external world to be the thing that gives you happiness, worth, or value.
Very true, and nicely said, greatly said. So now we really ran through everything in your career. I didn't want to get into too much detail because I know there's a bunch of interviews of you out there of going way into detail, and also. Go look it up. Go look up some of the promos, some of the matches that happen. Most of the time, I'll ask people, what is your Mount Rushmore wrestling? But I'm not going to ask you that. I'm going to ask you your Mount Rushmore of people you've worked with.
Oh, jeez. People I've worked with?
Yes.
I've worked with everybody, man. On some level.
Yeah, whether it was wrestling, writing.
These guys are great. I mean, I've had the pleasure of... Mick Foley, like as far as like me, who were like my guys, where I go, that's my guy. Mick Foley's my guy. John Cena, man, I love John Cena. The guys in the ring, it's like there are so many really talented performers that I spent a lot of time.
Yeah, especially the time that you were coming up, and the time you were just that time period is just like. It was like also not like back then people didn't look at Ring of Honor like that, but now when they look back at those DVDs, they're like, this is like an all-star lineup for every show.
These are all future Hall of Famers, right? And Bryan Danielson's amazing and freaking smart too. And look, I work with a lot of great people now in Impact Wrestling and have there for the last 4 years as well. So I don't want to skirt around these things, but I had great chemistry working with Jericho and Kevin in WWE. I love Mick Foley. John Cena's the best. And this isn't to, negate any of the other amazing guys I wrestled, BJ Whitmer's and Alex Shelley's and all, all these guys for years. So, yeah, man.
Especially that you've been in the business for so long, it's tough to just... put it down to 5 people. That's why I was like...
And it's interesting because even as I talk about this, maybe it's just where my mindset is now. To me, the chemistry happens when I'm talking about the guys that I'm working with backstage, the creative aspect of it. It's like, because to me, the wrestling's fine. But that's maybe just not where my head is anymore. But that's where, and even if you were to say like, hey, people sometimes ask, who would you, if you could have one match, what's the match you would want to have against somebody? It's like, to me, it's like, that's not even a question. It's more like, if you could be in a story with somebody, a feud with somebody, or on Monday Night Raw.
If you were able to write your own storyline against a particular person.
It's like Mick Foley. Yeah. Give me and Mick at his prime. Or freaking, I would love just one time to get in the ring, with a microphone with John Cena and just like go with John. He was great, man. John's great. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That gets me excited to go, yeah.
Just the thought of it is like that would be awesome.
Yeah. So
how has it been working at Impact?
It's great, man. It was a great fit for me after leaving WWE. It was almost immediate that I went there, and they were sort of in a rebuilding phase in their company, and they needed somebody who could wear a lot of hats. I'm like, yeah, dude, I can wear all the hats. They just brought me in for, we were in Ottawa. We were just like, let's just see how this fit is. And as soon as I got there and just started, I was like, oh yeah, they need somebody exactly like me. And I want to be somewhere like this where I can create and play unencumbered, and I don't have, God bless Vince. Vince McMahon's a fucking legend, but I don't have a crazy billionaire madman breathing down my neck about every creative decision. It's like, great, perfect. Let's play. Let's date.
This is somewhere I can be and actually be happy and mentally happy to be here.
Yeah. I don't feel handcuffed. Like I'm not even coming up with ideas for me. I'm coming up with them for Vince, right? That's how it is there. You're not thinking about the best thing that you can do. You're thinking about the thing that Vince kind of won't yell at you for. Yeah. And it was just such a different experience to then go, great, I don't have to worry about that. I can just try to do the best thing I can do. And if it's bad, well, it's bad, but fine.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people don't understand like how tough it is to be a writer.
It is.
Like I just listen and it's just like, wow, like people be like, oh, well, they could just do this. But it's tough when wrestling has been around for so long and everything, like coming up with something
everything
has been done. Like I like a lot of people will bring up like how the WrestleMania 30 storyline with Daniel Bryan, all of them was the same storyline from WrestleMania 20. It was like, yeah, kind of like the underdog triple threat match. It makes sense. Like, but it's like how like there's so many storylines like that, but it's about how you make it original.
Dude, you're telling me,
and it's so tough. People don't really understand. Like I know. Oh, I do it all the time and criticize writers just like off the bat, but then when you really sit down and think about it, you're like, I would love to do something like that, but the pressure of, and then it's like every week. It's not like
every week,
every month, every couple of months.
Dude, that's what people don't get, man. It's like it is every week, like Raw. It's 3 hours a week, every week. For forever. It's like there's no end point. There's no end point to it. It's just you're going to keep writing with these, 50, 60 wrestlers. You're going to juggle all these wrestlers on a 3-hour show forever. In 3 hours is a beast, man. 2 hours is much more manageable. I say 3 hours because Raw, it's like, well, no shit, it's not good. It's too long. Freaking impossible, man. It's impossible to do nobody wants to do anything for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to watch anything. Like, there's no off season. Like, everything else has an off season or some sort of finale. Except for what are they, soap operas? Those run every single week for forever.
Too, yeah.
Yeah.
But those two, it's like, what else could be done? All storylines have been
and so made. it's difficult, man. And this isn't to say as an excuse for things being bad or not. It's like you don't know until you're forced to put pen to paper and go, okay, come up with this, come up with this, come up with this. Great. Now come up with it. Great. All right, good. Now do it. All right, great. Next. It's like, how many different ways can I slice this, skin this cat?
Yeah, and then also when you're answering to somebody, gotta be more tough because
Right.
then it's like, no, try it again.
Right. Vince makes an already very difficult job like next to impossible. But it's a very difficult job, man.
Yeah.
You know, I don't.
Were you working on every show or were you just
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. At different points. I mean, you know, different times they split up. Okay, you guys are Raw. You guys do the SmackDown team. But you know, it's kind of everywhere. I was, you know, did NXT for maybe like 6 months with the
nice.
Cruiserweight Classic.
How did that go?
It's all right. You know, I don't see eye to eye with Hunter on everything. Hunter, and I get how he wanted his brand. You know, it's very like, you know, it's all about like believability, reality sort of based, and that was his thing. And I get you're establishing your brand like that, and he did a great job at it. I didn't always see, like I like a little bit more. Something a little more gimmicky than he does, like just a little bit,
Okay.
right? A little bit more.
Yeah.
But Hunter's a reasonable guy, at least. He
That would actually sit down and listen and be like, oh, okay.
Here's the thing. With Vince, half the job is just talking to him. Being able to pitch him something that he follows, that he understands, that's pitched in a way that whatever. Hunter, I could be like, hey, bro, what do you think if this happened?
Yeah.
And he could say yes or no. With Vince would
You have to run down.
Vince would get confused by the, you know, by whatever you're saying because you called, you know, you mentioned the word he, who's he, which he got pronouns, guys, you know, sir, based on what you told us last week about wanting to get more heat on our heels, is there anything to Rusev coming out after the match and attacking Rey Mysterio? God, where is he coming out from? What do you? It's like, I don't put it together, man. But you had to do all these things of like based on what you
Step
already
by
said,
step, like-
based on what you've already told us. So this is your idea, Vince. Is there anything to? Because I can't, you know, actually be like, hey, let's do this. And then you have to sort of paint him this picture because if you leave out the detail of, you know, where Rusev is going to come from, like, God, well, if Rey Mysterio is just going to see him then. It's like, well, have him come from behind Rey Mysterio then, man. Like, do I have to give you every freaking detail of it? And it's got to be concise enough where you don't lose him because if you go too long, he'll just get lost in it. And so that's half the job with Vince is just
having him follow.
Knowing how to talk to him. So all that to say, Hunter's a dude. Hunter's a good dude, and was easier to work with, even though I didn't always agree with how he wanted things. But he's the boss, and that's fine. Yeah.
No, yeah, but it was like you said, it was better that he was reasonable, unlike having to go step by step. Rusev comes from the left and like off the stage.
I can't tell you how many times like I lost Vince in the middle of pitching, and it's the worst thing.
Does he let you finish or does he cut you off?
Because you realize you're losing him, and you don't know what to do. And it's just
that's gotta be tough. That you gotta go pitch.
I don't miss it.
How was the first time you had to you got to pitch him something?
I don't miss it. The first time I pitched him something, it was a good idea. My first pitch I had there was the finish to, it was like the Extreme Rules 2015 pay-per-view. Main event was Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins. Seth was a heel. He just won the title. And it was in a cage. And they wanted to do some sort of like kind of screwy finish. So something, because they were going to go back to Seth and Orton, so you know Seth needed to fuck him somehow, and he had the J&J connection, their J&J security at that time, and the match before that on the card was going to be Last Man Standing with Big Show and Roman Reigns.
Okay.
And Big Show and Roman Reigns had wanted to go through the ring, do like a spot where they break the ring and go through it. And they're like, we can't do that, and let's come up with something else, whatever. So I said, well, what if you have them break the ring? They put a big hole in the ring, and so then now for the main event in the cage, there's a big hole just in the corner of the ring, and Seth and Randy like work around it the whole time, and they do the whole cage match with like this hole in the ring. I don't remember like ECW Barely Legal 98. Remember when Bam Bam and Taz go through the ring? Right, bang. And you know you have the security tape around it, right? And so you do the whole match with that, and then finally, Randy does something where he freaking bumps Seth into the hole. Randy goes to climb the cage, gets out, goes to get out of the cage. Here comes J&J security. They go to try to stop Randy. Randy fights him off. And as Randy's climbing on the other side of the cage and about to jump down, all of a sudden Seth's on the outside, and you're like, what the hell happened? It's like, oh, he went through the hole in the ring underneath the cage to get out. That's a fucking good finish, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Vince didn't buy it, but that was my first pitch.
And it makes sense that it gives him that heel win.
Dude,
that's
a good freaking finish.
Yeah. And it's like, it wasn't even his fault, but how the fuck did he get through that? It's
So.
That's awesome though. And it's tough, like you said, having him follow you.
Right. Even as I'm explaining it to you, it's like there's a lot of stuff to it. There's a lot of you got to picture a lot of it. And Vince, who gets lost easily, if you lose it at any point, or if you don't have it properly pictured in your head at any point, you go,
he stops following.
Well, for anybody, you just go, I don't get it. I don't see what you see. So I have to paint that picture for Vince, and I have to do it in a certain way. Otherwise, he's not going to see what I see. He's not going to see the fucking brilliance in that idea. It's probably the only good idea I had at WWE. But it was a good fucking idea, man.
It was.
But to see that and go, oh yeah, that's actually good.
Is there anybody you have like that Impact that you have to go to and be like, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I've got a boss.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah, but it's not like. But is it like more like a team, or is it just one person? You just be like, what do you think of this?
Well, look,
or do you present it?
The buck has to stop with somebody, and that's where people can criticize Vince all they want, but the buck stops with him. And it has to. It can't be a freaking committee and a vote and whatever. It's like, it's got to be one guy's vision at the end of the day. Scott D'Amore's the boss at Impact Wrestling, and he's not crazy like Vince is crazy.
It's not as intense, but it's still gotta pitch it.
And we have a smaller team and less content to write, and there's more leeway, and there's leeway for me to go, yeah, Scott, I decided to do this. This is why. Well,
you did.
And it was, or if it happened and it wasn't, if he's like, God, what the hell was this? It's like, yeah, man, I did this. This was my thought on it. And he goes, all right, great. Let's that wasn't good. Let's not do that.
Let's not try that again. Yeah.
It's great. No problem. I can fail. It's fine. In WWE, Vince says he wants you to be free to fail, but he doesn't want that. He doesn't want that at all.
Oh no,
fair enough. But that doesn't. There's balances to everything, but that certainly doesn't create a creative environment. You have to be free to fail to do something great. It's the only way.
Yeah, no. If everybody has bad ideas, it's not everything's gonna be a star and be 100%.
Of course,
it's just how it is.
And you have to take shots, man. You have to go for it.
Oh yeah.
If you don't go for it, and this is how I felt at WWE so much. It's like we're just freaking treading water, just treading water, just treading water, just treading water, and then Vince would finally. It's like Vince was always allowed to, and it's his show. He's of course allowed to. But then Vince would go like, "Guys, let's do this," and his idea would be outlandish. It's like, "Yeah, great, let's do that," because otherwise it's always just you're doing the same freaking thing. So, yeah, I'm allowed to fail now,
and that's better because then, like you said, it's just like, okay, don't do that again.
Mm-hmm.
All right, on to the next week, on to the next content that we have to make.
Yeah,
that's awesome though, man. So it sounds like you're having a good time in Impact. You're running the indies. Are you doing shows like every weekend or just
man. I wrestle when somebody asks me to come in and play.
Okay.
And I enjoy it, but it's
not like just anybody could call and be like, oh,
anybody can call. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But I'm not wrestling that much. I think the last match I had was this like middle of December right now.
Yeah.
Beginning of December. I wrestled Jon Moxley at Halloween. So that's 6 weeks ago. That was the last match I had. And
oh wow.
I'll wrestle again and I'm doing GCW in Detroit on the 14th of January, so it's like once a month,
Yeah, you
once
got
every other
breaks,
month,
yeah.
something like that.
You do a little pop up. I didn't know you did the Halloween show. I think the last time I heard you were doing something was the GCW emo night, and that was like,
that was fun.
which that was awesome.
That was great. Yeah,
that was
good.
happy I was there. That was sick.
Oh, were you there?
Yeah.
It was like, what a fun time, man. And it's nice to be at a point in my career where, again, I'm not proving anything. There's nobody to prove anything to.
It's more about just having fun.
Yeah, there's nobody to be. There's no place to be other than here now. So it's great.
That's awesome, man. Well, I want to thank you again for giving me this opportunity, doing this interview with you, giving me some time to ask you some questions and have a discussion with you. Where could the people find you?
Currently, I'm on Instagram, Jimmy Jacobs X. I say currently because I float in and out of social media.
I mean, social media is...
I'm off of Twitter right now. I might get back on. I don't know. JimmyJacobs.com. You can always find JimmyJacobs.com. If I disappear from social media, has my email address on there, and you can always contact me there.
Awesome. Thank you again, Jimmy. I really appreciate it. This was another episode of the Ring Fanatics. You can catch us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, wherever our podcast is. Wherever you can find podcasts, we're there. Ring Fanatics. But yeah, thank you again, Jimmy, and I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, dude.